fuck. Ow, fuck.
What's your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony!
Hello everybody, and welcome back to Firearms and Fitness. I'm Sean. I'm here today with this guy right here. This is the Olight Odin 2000 lumen weapon mounted light. And I won't lie, there's a couple things we have to say about this. Olight tends to break down into three different camps of people. People who have never used them but swear that they're trash and people should never use them. The second being people who own them and never use them and just kind of sit on a rifle. And people who see both sides as fucking whack jobs and really need to get a life and maybe try to test things on their own. And unfortunately, that's the camp I kind of landed in. I've seen nothing but hate for Olight lights, and obviously some of it is warranted. T-Rex Arms has put it out there that they have contacted him for a paid review, and there probably are paid reviews out there. Now, I've had this light for going about a year, and I won't lie, the first 3 months of me owning it wasn't on a rifle. It was just like this, only in its original black form. And what I used this thing for was at my job for searches, seizures, and even de-escalation. The 2000 lumen light on here is, without a doubt, probably one of the better outputs I've seen in a minute. Now, I will admit, this does get exceptionally hot, all right, especially for long periods of time. But when shined directly in the face, a lot of the people I had to deal with, all right, immediately became less combative. It aided me in lighting up entire areas, looking across complete cell blocks, and making a dark room into a bright room. This honestly was a very bright and very well done flashlight for an EDC use. But that's not what they market this for. They market it for a weapon mounted light. And unfortunately, that's where it does kind of fall short a little bit. To bring it into perspective though, let's bring some specs in. All right, to start the general features of the Odin, it weighs in at, with all this accoutrement, I'm gonna get this on. So, to start, let's get the general weight of what this is gonna add to your rifle. You have the mount, the light, but let's not forget the tail cap itself and tail switch. Looking at 8.8 ounces, you're really not into a bad area. It's a fairly light light. It does feel more dense than it is, and I do believe that's because it's made a 6000 series aluminum as far as I know. It would have been great, especially for $150, for there to be a 70-75 body, making it just a little bit lighter, a little more durable in the light. Now, as I said previously, this light does boast a 2000 lumens bright light, which honestly, close range, this is fuck you eyes amount of light, and I love it. I love having recoil coming out of my light when I do hit the button. It does state that you have 22,500 candela, which is fairly decent, especially for lights of this size and general use. A lot of Surefire lights I've seen maybe only have 10,000, maybe 15. But the newer Surefires definitely are coming in a little bit more, but that's neither here nor there. The spill on this is magnificent. You'll be able to see a large range. The hot spot on it is okay, and we'll show you examples of that later. From my understanding, the battery that is in here, it's a proprietary battery from them, which is both good and bad, but it is a 21700 3.6 volt battery. And It's honestly not too bad. When you actually make batteries for your thing, the chances of stuff exploding are much less likely. Now, we're not going to go into that whole spiel of things as far as their weapons lights exploding and whatnot. If you want to check out something about that, I highly recommend going to see Nicky Dicky on YouTube. He's got a pretty good quick breakdown of his original Olight review. The battery life does claim to have 8 hours of battery, which honestly I have found to be relatively true. I rarely have to charge this thing, and I did use it at one point quite constantly at my job. And I've used it a little bit in practice and in training when I go out to the range, just getting rounds on this thing. Comes with a magnetic tail cap that locks in, pressure pad. Now, normally you have two modes on this. A light touch will give you low, harder touch will give you high. All right, but with the tail switch, all you have is the high mode. There's nothing else. Quick tap for constant on. Longer tap, about a half second to a second, for just for momentary. I will say that the D10s I don't quite trust. I don't know if I've just brushed this thing a couple times where it's just unlocked the collar and then I brushed it and it's come undone. I've seen that a couple times on my rifle, but it's really not that big a deal. As with all pre-flight stuff, check your equipment. However, I do think I would like a little more secure tail cap. A screw-on would have probably been more preferable, and also probably a little bit better in the long run. Going to the mount can be had in either M-LOK or Picatinny. I got the Picatinny mount. It does have a recoil boss down here at the bottom, which is actually quite nice. It can be mounted to a 90 degree or a 12 o'clock. All you have to simply do is press the button on the side, slide that in, it's locked in. I have not had any issues with this mount. It does sit a little weird, a little high to me, but that's neither here nor there. Press the button in, you can slide it back out, and you're good to go. All in all, no real complaints with the mount other than it just being maybe a little high and maybe a little outstretched. I would have liked a closer mount, but I'm sure there are mounts out there for this thing that you can get. All these features are quite nice, but I won't lie to you. Getting out into the real world, I did come into a couple of issues. The biggest one being that it would flicker sometimes under recoil. And I don't quite know what's causing that. Now, I never tried it with just a constant on press and go. I've only ever used it with the tail switch, so I don't know if the tail switch is just not making good constant contact while I'm pressing and holding this. But either way, here's a little bit of that right now. Now, if you look closely at the targets, you can see that, well, they're flickering it's flickering ever so slightly, and it may not be super noticeable on camera, but it is quite noticeable to the shooter, which was something that was a little frustrating. As somebody that thinks strobe features are, well, fucking stupid, this was definitely a distracting thing. Now, non-recoil and non-operations, yes, it worked just fine. It did send out a light. And honestly, it sent out a good amount of light. You have a good amount of reach with this thing. But I don't know if it's the 300 meters that they claim. Here's what to expect. Now, what I'm comparing it to is my EDC light. It's just a 200 lumen G2X light from Surefire. Simple, old. I've had it for about 15 years. And not 15 years, maybe about 10 years. I've had it for about 10 years. And then it's compared to this, a 2000 lumen light, literally 10 times the brightness with far more candela. And it may not be easy to see on the camera, but there is a world of difference, honestly, even to the eye. G2X EDC light. Low, high. Odin weapon mounted light. Low, high, G2X EDC light, low, High. I am able to maybe see 25 yards, if that, barely. More like 15 at best. Odin lights, weapon mounted lights. Low. I am much more able to clearly see through this, down to even about 25 yards fairly easily. High, I can see very easily through these woods. Very easily. All the way around, and the flood is great. Back berm is approximately 230 yards to 235 yards away. That building that you see over there to your right is approximately 150 yards. This is the EDC on low. I can just barely make out the goalposts that are out there on the low. On the high, I can kind of see the goalposts. It's very ghostly. It's kind of hard to see. You may be able to see some shadows or whatnot by the eye. The camera may not be picking it up well. Odin, weapon mounted light, low. I can very clearly see the two field post goals out there. I cannot quite see to the back berm just yet. It is lightly hazy out here. High. The hot spot is not quite small enough to give me a dedicated view, but I can see basically the whole field at the center. I can even see there, you're not going to be able to see it on the camera, but towards the back over there, there is it's a field goal that I can see pretty clearly, and I can see just the beginnings, edges of the berm back there. I can also see the fire hydrant down that way. Again, you may not be able to see it just due to this. And I can also feel this thing heating up quite fast. Now, hopefully those videos were able to help you see it a little bit better. And honestly, this is actually a fairly good light, especially for an EDC light. But again, we're going back to it being a weapon mounted light. If we're going to use this at night, I wouldn't feel comfortable PIDing anybody out past 100, maybe 150 yards. I would need somebody to begin returning fire to me for me to consider any further than that. But honestly, you know, what can you expect? It is nighttime. PID is going to be crucial more than anything else. However, using this thing indoors, I will say this, it makes any dark room a lit up room. Pun intended. It shines no problem through even the heaviest of lights. It goes through pretty easily those street lights and whatnot. So that's actually quite nice to have. So in that sense, it's pretty great. But again, going back to it, under recoil, this does flicker, which is not something I enjoy. Another downside to this light is, unfortunately, the back of the tail cap, and I don't know if you'll be able to see that super well, but this is very slick. Now, you do have these little nubs in here, but again, these are not super textile, especially with gloves. And it is hard to find the center dot. So something that could have been done is maybe put a little texturing on here, so when you do have to click it, it's easy, or if you press and hold, especially under recoil, it'd be easier to activate. Now, all in all, I do like the magnetic tail cap and that it is rechargeable through the magnet, so it can literally just sit on the charger while you wait to use. However, this is something I feel as though it is a miss, especially since this is not protected and it's not O-ring sealed. So water can get in behind there. So if you're going to use it, you're going to want to use a tail cap just to lock it in and make it just that much more water resistant. In short, this is almost a great light. Really, it's amazing a light. It's amazing light for searches, general use, and honestly, it wouldn't be a bad ADC light. It is a little dense, it's a little heavy, but it's no bigger than any other EDC light being marketed nowadays. and it has plenty of horsepower behind it to actually get through different light barriers or even fog at the least. It's just, unfortunately, this is just not that great for a rifle. The flickering is annoying. The tail switch and tail cap need to be improved on. And not to be milquetoast, I'm not saying this is not the light for you, but I will say this is not the light for me. It will not be living on my rifle much longer. In fact, I am sending this one out to Nicky Dicky so he can do his own review and see how he feels about it. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy this content, please do me a favor. Like, subscribe, comment. If you feel like you want to support us, we do have links below. Feel free to click them. If you look to make any kind of Amazon purchase anytime soon, feel free to use our link. All right, we do get a commission off of anything you may buy, but we do appreciate it. It doesn't cost you any more, it doesn't cost you any less. Thank you. You have a great day.